OPEC Plus has confirmed it will not delay its planned oil supply increases set to start in April. Despite suggestions from some delegates about a potential postponement, the Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak says discussions on the matter have not occurred. Analysts are closely watching the oil market, anticipating that the increase could be manageable due to sanctions and a boost in Chinese demand. OPEC Plus is currently reducing output by 5.85 million barrels per day, a significant drop of 5.7% of global supply. Let's bring in Brad Gastworth now from Unearthing Opportunities to talk about all this. He's based in the States. Great to see you, my friend. Obviously, President Trump has been warning OPEC Plus to lower the cost of oil to try and make the cost of living more sustainable for everybody. Don't know if it's a negotiating tactic, but the Russian Deputy PM says, no thanks, we'll do what we want.
Yeah, I mean, it's never a dull moment when you look at oil and where we're going, but it's important to see what happens with supply. I mean, there's been articles suggesting a cut. Now we're getting, word that may not take place. With the U.S. purchasing and consumer looking at pricing and how important it is right now, pricing sort of static and not increase. I think it's quite important. I mean, Trump obviously has talked about this while he was campaigning and made it a big point after he took over presidency. But we need to see stable oil prices because that's ultimately going to help the consumer. I mean, that's something we're certainly watching closely.
It would have been delaying plans for an increase of about 120,000 barrels of oil there a day. And that would be the fourth time that the alliance of Saudi Arabia and Russia have essentially come to some sort of agreement. As we know, Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, are meeting at the moment in Saudi Arabia. So you've got all three parties in the one place right now. How much do you think the conversation will be about ending the war in Ukraine, and how much do you think will be about trying to solidify, normalize oil production and the price of oil?
It's a great question there. I'm not sure. I would expect at least half spent on the war in Ukraine, and then also half on oil price. Ultimately, he's in Saudi Arabia. He's meeting with the right people. I think it's tough to see OPEC Plus actually, cutting supply. I don't have this round. I think with Rubio there, I think that sort of solidifies the likelihood that we do not get a cut in supply. But ultimately, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of things we discussed with, if all of a sudden there is a deal with Russia and Ukraine, open up a lot of oil that wasn't there for several years now. So ultimately, I mean, we got to keep watching this to see what takes place. But I think it will be positive from a consumer standpoint, from a pricing standpoint, where prices likely aren't going to go higher here in the near term.
Oil is at about 74 USD a barrel at the moment. It's often said that when it drops below 70, dictators around the world in oil-rich countries start to panic, particularly President Putin. For Russia, they really need that price of oil up. It's one of their main commodities that they send out. They're running out of customers, not to mention those sanctions as well. If the US releases sanctions on Russia, which is the only reason that the Russians are turning up to these meetings and engaging in any talks at all about ending the war in Ukraine, will that lower or increase the price of oil, do you think?
Well, so you mentioned several good points there, Aaron. I think the most important one is that you brought the point up that Russia needs a place to sell the oil, right? They've run out of customers. The U.S. would be a great customer for them. I actually do not think that the prices should tick higher, barring other macro events. But I think from this, I think Russia would be quite happy with a stable pricing here and having another customer as the U.S. if that was able to take place.